President Trump doubles down on his push for a border wall during last night's State of the Union address. Tennessee Republican Congressman Chuck Fleischmann is on the bipartisan committee working on the deal. He was just at the border a couple of days ago. He joins us now. Congressman, thank you for coming in. We've been hearing a lot of reports that we're inching closer to a deal. How close are we?
I don't know exactly how close we are, but we're making tremendous progress. The optimist in me at the inception of this committee said if you put appropriators, people who are very reasonable, in a room and keep leadership out of the room and basically let us do our job, we would be able to get it done. These are some of the most reasonable people in Congress, talented people in the House and Senate. So I think we're inching closer. And the most telling thing about that is if you see where Speaker Pelosi was at the inception, she was no, no, no. Now she's saying maybe and yes. That's a very good sign.
So, Congressman, how far beyond the issue of the wall do you think the committee is going to go? Are they talking about E-Verify? Are they talking about any of the other issues, the diversity visa program, that are kind of important to people looking at immigration? Or are they really just stuck on solving this wall problem? And the Dreamers. I mean, that's the other issue, obviously.
It goes far beyond the wall. That's a very parochial but important issue. The ICE bed issue is a very important issue. Unfortunately, the Democrats want to reduce the amount of ICE beds, and that would be a disaster right now because actually the illegal immigration is up. It's up almost everywhere. It is ticked up. And if there are not enough beds, unfortunately, they're going to have to catch and release. The Democrats know that, and unfortunately, many of them want that. We cannot have that in this country. So the ICE bed issue is very important. Also, the 24% of the government that was shut down, those bills that we did not agree on, Homeland Security was just one of those bills. There are other bills out there that we need to agree on. So I think there's room. And the good thing about it is there's room and there's flexibility because of those other bills that are out there.
Congressman, do you think the Democrats, or some of them, the leadership, really want a deal, comprehensive deal on immigration, or do they see it as a wedge issue that they just want to play a card each election?
Well, Steve, I would have thought 2 years ago, a year ago, that the Democrats would have jumped on President Trump's very courageous move to put DACA on the table.
Right.
There was a time that this was just not discussed. It was just basically forbidden. Now that he put it on the table, they have walked away from it. And really, I really can't imagine a situation where the DACA supporters in this country are not furious with the Democrats. They actually have the beginning of a deal process there that's going to give them potentially 3 years to avoid any type of deportation and the like. So I don't know if they're being disingenuous, but they had an opportunity and they passed on it.
Are the Republicans going to pound that issue? I'm surprised the president has. Instead of doing 3 years, just say full path to a full legalization and citizenship. That would put the Democrats in a real quandary. Why not put them in the corner publicly? Make them squirm.
Well, but candidly, I don't think that's where we are as a party, and I don't think that's where I am, and I don't think that's where we are as a nation. That's going a bit too far. I think perhaps putting something out there that we could work towards a compromise, but the Democrats have taken that off the table. They don't want to negotiate on that. So, unfortunately, when you're negotiating in a two-party system, if one party wants to take it off the table, it just does not get addressed.
Yeah, Congressman, I'm surprised by some of your comments. Actually, Nita Lowey is the congresswoman in my area. And
nice lady.
As you know, the DACA recipients, they want permanent status. And it's surprising you want permanent funding for a wall, but you won't give permanent status. And so if it was wall plus permanent status, what would you do? Because I'm assuming you don't want to keep a shutdown.
Well, the shutdown I don't think will happen. I think everyone in that room, and including the president, do not want a shutdown of another 24% of the government. That hurt. It was not good for the economy, and it was not good for the entire process. However, it's a non-starter because the Democrats right now have taken DACA off the table. So if it was an issue, we could address that. We'd have to read that and look at it and see what it actually said. But the fact that they said it was a no-go really surprised me. The people that spoke the longest, Nancy Pelosi took to the floor for what would amount in the House to about an 8-hour filibuster, synonymous with the filibuster, basically to protect DACA last year. Now they've walked away from it. So there are other issues, obviously, that are more important to them. We just have to find out what those issues are and negotiate from that point.
Congressman, this is Scott Martin. What happens after Friday? Let's say there isn't a deal. You mentioned the aversion for a shutdown again, but what did we get, an extension for a couple more weeks where we're going to go, maybe have ice cream together and figure something out? I mean, what's the plan for after Friday if something doesn't work out by then?
Well, the eternal optimist in me from the inception was we want to get a deal done by Friday. Congress works better when we're up against deadlines. And unless we basically say we're going to get it done, if we look at a delay tactic, we won't get it done. However, if we are moving closer and the clock is about ready to run out, it would be preferable to have a very short-term continuing resolution to avoid a government shutdown. I don't think the American people want a shutdown. I don't think there's an appetite for that in Congress or in the White House.
Congressman, very quickly, last question. I got to ask whether or not the president last night did not talk about an emergency declaration to fund the wall. Are you disappointed or relieved that he didn't mention an emergency declaration last night?
I think the president did an outstanding job all across the board last night in his speech. It was very good. It was unifying.
But specifically, are you glad or unhappy?
I'm glad. I'm very glad, and it was a very smart tactical move. Why put that out there if it is not going to come into fruition? If he had put it out there, it would have signified that we were headed for failure. I think we're headed for success. I'm an optimist. I think President Trump is an optimist. Let's try to get this done by Friday.
Congressman Fleischmann, great to see you. Thank you so much for joining us. Appreciate it. Please come back. Well, President Trump calling NAFTA an historic blunder.